Fortunately, I'm confident we've got an experienced, effective, and energetic UN ambassador in waiting in Samantha Power. Samantha first came to work for me in 2005, shortly after I became a United States Senator, as one of our country's leading journalists.
First thing you need to know about Samantha Power is that she's married to Cass Sunstein. I explained to you in Chapter 6 about Sunstein. He's the wacko leftist Harvard Law School graduate and former University of Chicago professor who was appointed by Obama to the position of regulatory czar. He hates gun owners and the Second Amendment, which protects the right of individuals to own firearms. He opposes hunting, a legal pastime of some 12 million Americans. He's described the suffering of animals inflicted by hunters as morally equivalent to slavery and the mass extermination of human beings. So he is a gun grabber. He hates the NRA. He hates private gun ownership in the United States. He is the husband of the woman who authorized the killing of Gaddafi. Samantha has been a longtime proponent of George Soros's so-called responsibility to protect. In fact, her position on this issue won her a Pulitzer Prize, another leftist award.
We have more breaking news tonight. Sources say State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert is expected to be nominated as the next American ambassador to the United Nations. Nauert is a former Fox News anchor and has been serving as the State Department spokesperson.
Well, she looks like she has a fine resume as a journalist. She distinguished herself on ABC, Fox News and then she was a co-anchor for Fox and Friends, so she has big credentials at Fox. In terms of what we normally look for at the United Nations, her resume is very thin. Her experience in diplomacy is non-existent, as best I can tell. She is a spokesperson for this Trump White House. But traditionally, Anderson, we've either had people with a lot of experience in international affairs and or a lot of experience as academics.
As one of our country's leading journalists.
It may be good for Trump personally. It might make him feel more comfortable with the staff around him. But I don't think it's good for America. The look of the way he's recruited, not just Heather Nauert, but others in his administration as well, recruiting via television.
Bill Shine, who
Bill Shine being a great example. Obviously, I love television, but it may not be the best way to recruit leaders for the country.
Breaking news now on the woman who could become America's next UN ambassador. Samantha Power grilled during a Senate confirmation hearing just a little bit more than an hour ago. She was asked about some of the controversial remarks that she's made, suggesting that the United States had committed some crimes overseas. Listen to this fascinating exchange that she had with Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Watch.
I would categorize the Rwanda situation as a crime, as the words used, permitted by the United States. Which ones did the United States commit or sponsor that you were referring to?
Again, sir, I think this is the greatest country on earth. We have nothing to apologize for.
Okay. So you don't have any in mind now that we've committed or sponsored?
I will not apologize for America. I will stand very proudly, if confirmed, behind the U.S. placard.
No, I understand, but do you believe the United States has committed or sponsored crimes?
I believe the United States is the greatest country on earth.
Absolutely. And in fact, her repetition of this line today, Martha, that she believes the United States is the greatest nation on earth and we have nothing to apologize for. It's obvious she's saying that now because, of course, she wants this job to be the U.S. ambassador to the UN. She has a long record of saying the exact opposite. She has accused the United States of committing war crimes. She has accused the United States of assisting or helping, at least, in committing genocide. She has indirectly compared the United States to Nazi Germany. And she has also blamed American power for anti-Americanism around the world. In other words, it's always our fault. The United States should be taken down a notch or 2 or 10 internationally because of all of the past atrocities and bad things that we have done in the world. In other words, she comes out of this far-left tradition, Martha, which believes that the United States has not been a force for good in the world, a force for liberation and freedom, but actually a force for tyranny and oppression. And in that way, she comes right out of the mold that the President of the United States does.
I want to just quote, Monica, from something that she said that goes directly to Senator Rubio's question. She said in a speech, a prior speech, U.S. foreign policy has to be rethought. It needs not tweaking, but overhauling. We need a historical reckoning, she says, with crimes committed, sponsored, or permitted by the United States. And she goes on and on to say that we need to open the files, we need to go back and look at the mistakes we made. And basically, she talks a lot about, before you go out in the world and, try to support a nation, you need to also explain what you did wrong there in the past that sets you up for this new change of heart.
To her long-standing philosophy, and she's got a long paper trail where she writes about this, about how the United States, it's always blame America first, that the United States is presumed guilty when we're taking a look at U.S. actions around the world. And that gets to what you just pointed out, Martha, where she's saying U.S. foreign policy and national security strategy requires a rethinking. Do we really have the moral authority to exercise our power in the world, given this long trail of injustices and genocide and war crimes that we have committed? My question, Martha, is, the Republicans generally want to give the president his prerogative in terms of his nominees and choices. And I certainly understand that, but there are certain battles that should be picked. And I think Samantha Power is one of the most dangerous appointments this president has made, and that's saying a lot. And in this case, the Republicans actually should drive a stake into the ground and oppose her nomination, because if she's at the UN, I wonder who's going to be fighting for America's interests there. Yes, and remember, she's married to Cass Sunstein, Martha, who was President Obama's regulatory czar, so very close relationship with him. Look, that's how all of these people get these jobs, because they are all of like mind with this president. They all come out of the far left ideology. The problem is that American power is being diluted around the world thanks to this president. He's gutting our military. He's gutting the military budget. He's reducing America's influence around the world. And she's there at the UN, assuming she gets this job, she's going to be at the UN doing exactly that.
Heather Nauert, the State Department spokeswoman, best known for having been part of the team at Fox and Friends to be the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. And some pundits are disparaging the choice.
In terms of what we normally look for at the United Nations, her resume is very thin. Her experience in diplomacy is non-existent, as best I can tell.
Heather Nauert would be a great choice to be, for example, the next White House press secretary. Choosing her as UN ambassador makes no sense.
All these skeptics that seem to be lining up on the left about her, bring it on. When she goes in front of them for confirmation, she'll knock it out of the park like she has been for 2 years.
Look, it's true that Heather Nauert, who also worked at ABC, doesn't have much diplomatic experience, and it's easy to say she's just a TV personality. But she's done a good job dealing with journalists at State, was promoted to undersecretary, and besides, Trump may see this mainly as a communications job. Now, some of her predecessors have had tremendous credentials, such as George H.W. Bush. Would the reaction have been different if, let's just say,